God's grace makes it possible for everyone to be justified by their faith. Then, by removing our sin, we are reconciled to God. We must remain in that state. Justification rightly means that we have properly entered into God's required statutes. We have entered a covenant with God and are 100% willing to do what He has prescribed in order that we might receive forgiveness for our sin. We then are not merely associated with the act of forgiveness, but we are forgiven. If we're going to enter heaven, we have to experience our own personal righteousness through us following Jesus Christ all the way into Canaan. It's not going to be given to us against our will, against our knowledge. It's not just something that we're associated with because we call ourselves a Christian, because we read our Bibles, because we go to church. We have to actually experience this righteousness. When a person enters wholeheartedly into a consecrated life to God, they are made righteous. Not just externally credited with righteousness, but changed to be made righteous. For He made Him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in Him. As long as a person remains in perfect agreement and complies with God's terms towards their redemption, that person remains justified by faith. That person becomes a temple of God, consecrated, separated from all the profane, and set aside for the Lord's use. As a living sacrifice, that person, as they remain clean and they remain holy, the righteousness of God is imparted to them. Now, the Holy Spirit does not enter or stay in a dirty vessel. People, after they trust Christ and who go back to a life of practicing sin, are void of the Holy Spirit. A one-time conversion, a church membership, a relative who's a Christian, none of these things will do it. Jesus warned those who were almost Christian, "You are not far from the kingdom. One thing you lack. Go your way, sell whatever you have, and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come and take up your cross and follow me." Everything that you value, everything you're trusting in, everything that is supporting you, get rid of that dependency and put it all on me. You pick up your cross and you follow me. You are not to fear or be discouraged, because God has promised you a victory over the enemies of your soul. But you will not see victory if you sit there without faith in God's power. You will receive your inheritance, but not if you sit there whining and complaining. There is no reason to fear or become discouraged. If you are God's people, be courageous and march forth, conquering all the enemies who oppose you entering the promised land. Before a person can truly have faith like Moses or Caleb or Joshua, they have to cease from their own works and be totally committed to obeying God. The faithful men of the Exodus were men of such action. These men lived and ate and drank and slept and breathed everything for the glory of God. They were diligent at following God. They sold all that they had. They were single-minded. They were obedient to the things of God and what He spoke. And they allowed His word to discern their thoughts and their intents of their hearts, knowing that it was to Jehovah that they were going to give an account one day. They did not let the disobedience of others keep them out of Canaan. They were convinced in themselves the righteousness it takes to go in and possess the land. How about you? Are you going to let your sin or the sin of others keep you out of heaven?